Yes. Hello. Welcome to us Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. I'm joined by the Twitch chat. We're on Mess Around Friday, a classic day where we look at all of the hot gossip from stuff around the world. We have been able to look at this phenomenal piece of art by James Poxon, where we looked at a couple of kids trying to defend themselves against the evils of a plague marine. This led to a healthy debate in the chat where we did a straw poll, 98% to 2%, where Darth Vader was voted as not particularly scary, which is interesting. But we talked about what was scary in Warhammer 40,000, and then inherently who was evil and who wasn't evil, right? And who wasn't evil in Warhammer 40,000, which kind of leads us to this. The Warhammer 40,000 evil morality tier list. Not how good are the armies, as in to play on the tabletop, not how fun are they, not how cool are the miniatures, but how evil are these factions. Evil is obviously really difficult to determine because it's always societally based, although there have been many philosophers who discuss the very nature of good versus evil, and generally it's considered that anything that does not help the greater good is considered to be more evil or evil, and things moving towards the good. Although there are things that help the greater good which are themselves inherently evil. So it's a complicated moral question. So you may not agree with this tier chart, and you may have different feelings, which means that you get to leave comments below, which drives the algorithm. Don't forget, before you leave a comment, if your comment is to try and take the piss, or be mean, or do anything rude, I'm only going to enjoy that because you're going to drive the algorithm on this video higher. So let's go. Yeah, feel free. Okay? And if you don't agree, you're wrong. Okay, so let's start with some real simple armies that we can agree are probably evil. The Death Guard. Now, they don't want you to die, but they do want to spread disease and corruption all around the world, or all around the universe, right? And murder people. Okay? Well, not murder people, just grow disease and corruption. I think we can agree that the Death Guard are evil. They work for chaos, and they want disease, right? Okay? Not good people, right? They do spread life, that's true. It just happens to be a form that kills people. And to be fair, in that conversation, the very concept of spreading life is it's life that is alien to life and therefore aggressive to life that currently exists, very much like us and the Neanderthals, or us and, I don't know, rhinos. I don't know what rhinos ever did to human beings, or dodos. But our life was incompatible with those, so we fucking got them. And do you know what? Get wrecked. Big L for the dodo. Yeah? Imagine evolving without the ability to craft guns from your hands. You fucking stupid birds. Yeah? You useless chicken meat. Yeah? Right? Nothing. Right? So, like, the dodo deserved it. I'm throwing that out there. Right, okay. Yeah, we got them. Yeah, so big L for them, big dub for humans. Right? So, but it's kind of interesting because the very concept of life, which is what Death Guard spread, being separate to life as it currently exists, doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil. Right? I think it's complicated. Right? Yeah. It's complicated. Very much like human beings are like, it's complicated, fish. I guess you all just got to fucking die. We need to eat. It's complicated. Yeah? It's just complicated. It's not like if we were to hold Death Guard to the same metrics that human beings hold the natural world, we can only describe them as it's complicated. Right? And so, because for us it's complicated. You got vegetarians. They're like, maybe don't eat stuff because they're alive. And then you got meat eaters who are like, you suck, vegetarians. You suck. So, complicated, right? So, okay, let's move on. It's complicated. That was a toughie. I wasn't expecting that. Who can we do next? Okay, Necrons. Necrons is kind of interesting. We could do that. Oh, let's not do. I think we'll leave them for a moment. Let's just do Chaos Demons. Chaos Demons make a lot of sense as most evil. They like to possess your body against your will. No consent there. That's not cool. Although some of them do try to. Some people do try. Some of the demons do whispers in your ear at night. Maybe succumb to the rage or succumb to the destruction. So there's a lot of temptation there. So that's coercion, which isn't good, I guess. But I'm gonna go for that. They don't get consent. They do a lot of murder. They're from the realm of murder, I'm gonna say. I don't think that there's a saving grace here. They are obviously working on behest of the Chaos Gods. They don't have a lot of their own personal autonomy. So that's difficult because they're very much like no, soldiers have rules of engagements. I don't think demons have rules of engagements, but they are definitely but they don't have free will. I don't think Chaos Demons have free will. I think that they are under the direction, specifically of their Chaos God, right? Can they even be good or evil if they don't have free will? If they don't have free will, they're not making a choice. Not making a choice, right, means that they're not, their actions are evil, but their intent, they have autonomy but not free will. Now, that makes it complicated. Because while their actions are obviously evil, their inability to choose those actions means that really it's who they represent are evil. If their god tells them murder is okay, are they not doing good by obeying their god? And this is a problem, because they're technically a manifestation of evil, but they're manifestation of a will of something trying to make them do something, and they do that thing well for that being. That is a complicated one. I immediately went to most evil, but maybe I've been judging them wrongly, right? Maybe I've been judging them wrongly. I forgot that they don't have free will. Their actions are definitely evil, though. They don't propagate life like Death Guard, which is a shame, right? Awkward. They are the will of evil. Interesting. And we define evil, just for later, because this is going to come up. We define evil as what? That's a real good question. Okay. But we're going to put them in most evil, because we don't want to be too... This is already going to be a very emotional subject for a lot of people watching, right? So we don't want to, cause any friction. And we'd like this to be a very, very we don't want to cause any outrage. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, we want to be pretty safe. Yeah, we don't want to cause any drama with this tier list. So we're gonna go for most evil. All right, okay. Where can we go next? Interesting. Where can we go next? Okay, Drukhari. Interesting for Drukhari. Okay, let's talk about Drukhari for a moment before we decide. Drukhari are kidnappers, murderers, torturers. They have souls that are diminishing, but they steal people, murder them, torture them, and they need to do that. Thank you, Barenberg, for resubscribing. They need to do that because they have a disease. Basically, their souls are being ripped away by a god, a chaos god. So they're kind of like diabetics. They need insulin to survive, or in this case, the torture and pain of other people. It's not diabetics. So that's a bit of a problem. Because, as a race, they... as a race... As a race, they die. If their soul is damned to literally the fires of hell unless they top it up through torture and pain, right? They don't need to do that. They choose to do that because they can't be bothered to change. Interesting metric. So I guess it's like eating meat, kind of like the. So this is kind of interesting, because like you don't need to, but you choose to, right? The torture and pain is life sustaining, in many ways. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I mean, the fact that your soul is doomed to hell if you don't engage in torture and murder, it seems problematic to me. Like, that already makes it complicated in my eyes. Like, we see this in society and in human life all the time. People engage in acts that are destructive and wanton, without regard for their effect on life, the environment, society itself. Like, billionaires don't need to take private jets anywhere, but they do, right? Because it's quicker, easier, and simpler, right? So, like, I feel like it's complicated. Like, they're doomed to death. They're doomed to hell. Okay? But they don't do it to X people. Like, it's interesting. Being Dark Elder is literally a choice. That's also true. You could be the Harlequins and be one of the laughing gods. That's super true. You could be a little Harlequin. I hope they're in here. I think they're in here. You could be a good guy, Craftworld. So I'm going to go for probably evil, because they make the choice, right? They make the choice to be evil when they do have another path, right? I'm sure there's lots of people who decide to increase their chance of dying instead of fostering slavery and torture. Agreed. It's not a choice if you're part of the Drukhari middle class. That's also true. Like, if you, like, I mean, it must be quite difficult initially. Like, if you're one of the Drukhari downtrodden, like, then that must be very hard. If you're on the lower rung of Drukhari society, it's got to be really hard to break the chains of your Drukhari overlords, who are immortal, don't forget. So the ability to sustain and develop their power structure is pretty significant. That's pretty interesting. So Drukhari need murder socialism? I'm not saying that, obviously, because you can't ever want socialism. That's evil. Don't be a lib. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine a society where, like, everyone is just happy and well, like Norway? Disgusting. Not for me. That's a no. Not for me. Let's put that out there. Or Sweden, terrible places to live. Like, the happiness index for Norway just came out recently. Most happy place in the world. No idea why. Like, weirdly, almost no school shootings. Like, in fact, none. 0. So weird. Weird place, Norway. I'd never go. It's full of weirdos. Chaos demons aren't conscious of their moral choices, so they're by definition less evil than people who choose it. Declan, we chose this. Like, feel free to fight on the issue. We talked about this. They don't have the choice. They have no free will, but they do evil. And they are the personification of the gods of evil. I think. Chaos demons aren't conscious. Like, yeah, I agree. Demons are evil. Drukhari are most evil. I don't think because they make the choice. Like the problem with like Drukhari, now we're actually talking about it, is that they're a top-down power structure society. Like, almost all the power exists in the Archons and the Drukhari overlords. Like, if you're just a regular schlub in a boat with a splinter rifle, you probably got literally no choice, right? Can you be a Dark Eldar who practices consent and ethical BDSM? I think they only get soul power from the full torture. I think if you're enjoying it, they don't like it. Although I don't know if they flipped it. Listen, this is going to get super weird now. Okay, so I want you all to be really comfortable. It's kind of a Monsters, Inc. situation where, I don't know if you know this, having not watched the children's movie Monsters, Inc., But the monsters are sent through the portals to scare the kids, because that creates an emotional reaction to like tank it up, and you get this energy from it. That's the plot of Monsters Inc. Now it turns out, spoilers if you are intending to watch Monsters Inc. Yeah, that true. Monsters Inc. is age agnostic. That is true. It's just a great movie. If you were to watch till the end of Monsters Inc., you would see that it turns out that making the kids laugh and smile actually produced more energy. A kind of story about good versus evil, I guess, in some ways. So the thing with Drukhari is that they might just be stuck in their process as a... This is going to take 9 hours. They might just be stuck in their process at the moment, and they maybe need to Monster Inc. it. I hadn't thought about that, but maybe they need to... Maybe there's a Monsters Inc. timeline for Drukhari coming up in 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000, right? Reading the various core books about terms of Sigma. Okay, yeah. Monsters Inc. is a parallel for rampant destruction by capitalism and the hopeful future of sustainable energy. Thanks for coming to my Overthinking TED Talk. I'm in. Please make an 8-hour video like this is going to be. Okay, let's just stick on Eldar for now. We're going to put Drukhari in evil because they make the choice to be evil, because they haven't gone through their Monsters Inc. storyline yet. That's where we're at, right? We're going to go for Harlequins, okay? Now, Harlequins, just straight good. I don't think there's a vote on that. My personal opinion. Harlequins, they're jesters. Like, they just do stories. They tell jokes. They run around. Their god is the god of laughter and humor. Yeah? Basically the god of titties and wine. Yeah? Or dicks, whatever you prefer. Like, just the absolute god of pure banter. Right? That's what they are. They're songsters, like songstresses, minstrels, bards. Like, they look goofy, though. Intergalactic traveling circus who oppose chaos at every turn. Like, they're literally the only good guys. They're the only good guys in 40k, as far as I'm aware. Right? Like, they're clowns. Also, they're ironic, right? Like, they also have, like, they have also this, like an ironic take on, sorry, what was it going to... I lost my thread there because I read the chat. Fuck. Just to speak truth to power, using toilet humor, correct. Clowns and also court jesters used in fiction for many centuries to represent truth speakers and wise men, yet ignored because obviously of their foolish and buffoon ways. Harlequins are the Zoomers, ironically, war crime in 40k, correct. They're neutral. Does one of them not become... Yes, so one of them dooms their soul to Sinesh, specifically. It's not the Deathmaster, but the Solitaire. The Solitaire dooms their... When you become a Solitaire, you doom your soul in, like, to Sinesh, but you gain more powers to fight against evil in the process of it. So, kind of the opposite of Drukhari in many ways, right? Have you ever met a funny or entertaining mime? Clowns are good. They also tell that, like, it's also the Bobo the Clown story. Like, in many ways. Like, they use that Bobo the Clown story really well in stories. Like, and if anyone's not sure of the Bobo the Clown story, someone goes to the psychiatrist and he's like, I'm incredibly depressed, I'm super sad, I don't know what I could do in my life, I feel so, like, there's nothing that brings me joy or humor or laughter. And the guy's like, go away, try these things, try these other things. And he eventually comes back and he's like, nothing works. I feel depressed, I feel sad, I feel low. Literally, nothing makes me feel good. And then the doctor's like, I know what will make you feel better. Bobo the Great Clown is in town this week. Go and see Bobo. Guaranteed. Never once has anyone been to see Bobo the Great Clown, never smiled or laughed. And at that point, the man turns around and says, but doctor, I am Bobo the Clown. Those are the Harlequins. In many ways, they have to fight evil all the time, and they're sad. They're sad about it. It makes them sad. Yeah, they put on a humorous front face, and yet inside they're crying. Okay. Jojo's Mojo, thanks for resubbing. But yeah, Palagachi, you fool. Is that who it is? Okay. Found a laughing is better than screaming. That's Monster Inc. right there. Yeah, yes, that's perfect. Harlequins of Monsters Inc. And then finally, Craft World. So we're still on Eldar. Eldar's a weird one. I mean, Bin, because they're elves, right? Wait, am I a Harlequin? Correct. Most of the Honest Wargamer chat are Harlequins. I don't know if you know this, but you're all Harlequin players. You're all Juvenalians. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in here taking the piss with me. Tears of a Clown, exactly. Have they tried dancing down some stairs to go and clear a song? Right, okay, all right, let's just talk about what Craftworld Eldar do. Their souls are still doomed to Slaanesh, but instead of letting those souls escape to Slaanesh, they trap them in prisons, and then they use them as batteries. They use the souls of their former family, friends, and loved ones as batteries to power stuff up. They wipe out 1 billion human lives to save a single Eldar soul. They do that. That is correct. Harlequins are also elves. But yes, agreed. I'm gonna say that they're evil. They cannibalize their own people. This is the Soylent Green story, right? This is classic. The people are Soylent Green. If anyone gets that reference, oh, the food is Soylent Green. Sorry. Call that fossil fuel. Are souls the equivalent of fossil fuels? Oh wow, what a fucking great question. Ultimate Eco Warriors. Okay. Would you rather send them to an organ donor or? That's a great question. They did birth a Chaos God. Can't be fully bro level if you do that. But they didn't mean to birth like unintended consequences. We can't hold them. We at least have to judge them for choices, which is rough for the Chaos Demons because I still feel bad for where they are, right? So that's a toughie in my personal opinion. Like the Craft Worlds will kill loads of people to save a few of their own, whereas most factions sacrifice a load of their own to kill others for no reason. That's also true. I feel like that they're also xenophobes, which is a problem. Whereas Death Guard want to go out and meet people. Death Guard would be great on an 18 to 35's holiday. I don't know what age they are. 25 to 30s, 40s, 75. I don't know what age those tours are. You know what I mean? They think neutralists care about themselves. So selfish is not an act of neutrality. That's an important point to note in society. Caring about yourself or only your own loved ones and not thinking about the greater good is inherently evil because it denies the other and therefore is evil, as quoted by the great thinkers, not me, obviously. So you can't be self-interested and not be selfish. And selfish is bad. Is it wrong that they inflated Slaanesh into existence? I mean, that's pretty good. They did fuck very hard, so hard they destroyed a part of reality, and then they became kind of like conservatives about it, right? Like they were like, aren't they quite like? Aren't they a bit like uptight now, and a bit like no fucking allowed, right? Which is pretty evil. Like these guys are like on no fap several years, is what I'm saying. Yeah, they've said no fucking. That's what they've said. So that's at least evil. Imagine no fucking. They are bad guys because of their selfishness, but that leaves them on a lower tier of evil than wanting rampant genocide. Okay, I'm gonna put them at evil. I think evil. No fat millennium. And missionary is the most evil position, to be fair. That is true. Okay, this is going to be a rough one for me. I want you to know I'm going to take this really personally. So I'm going to put GC cults up. Okay? Now, GC cults are... the cults themselves are a group of human beings that have been infected by a tyrannid broodlord. They have engaged in kidnapping, murder, and sexual assault to propagate their line, and they eventually enact a they eventually enact a revolution, which ultimately is doomed to overthrow the fascist regime which they're born into, but they do it so that they can be rampantly consumed. This is a right-wing analysis of what it is to want a more free society, unfortunately. So it's actually kind of like anti-union, because while inside of that process they are union members, they get the goods, and they are the proletariat who do a lot of hard work. So it's a bit of a they're hijacked trade unionists is what they are, right? I'm starting to think we need a very evil tier. I have to say evil, but they're like low tier evil. I personally think it's complicated, because in many ways, so all of the choices that they make are towards what they consider to be a greater good, okay, and they do think it's a greater good. They just don't know. Unfortunately, religion is involved, so that is going to push it up to evil, probably. So that's a problem. But I gotta say, just believing in unions gets you I think it bumps you down one. I'll forgive you a lot if you're a union man. That's what I'm gonna say, or woman or person. But you're right. They do a lot of crimes, and those crimes are inherently evil. So they're going in evil. I was arguing for myself there. I want you to know I was being selfish. I apologize, right? But yes, the sexual assault is terrible. So that probably puts them up to there. And Drukari also go into there as well, based on that reasoning alone. But let's put them in evil. Solidarity to all the comrades on strike today. Correct. There's lots of people in the UK on strike, so congratulations. Sad for the G-Silla cults, but that makes sense. You go up there. Okay. Who we got? Who should we talk about? Okay, let's just do a lot of Xenos, because then that kind of speeds things up a little bit towards the end. We got orcs. Orcs are mushrooms who don't propagate through they're kind of like a cool war faction in many ways. But evil because they have no will. It's a toughie. Orcs are based on mushroom people, don't forget. And so therefore probably no sex crimes, which is actually massive bonus in war times. They do evil acts for their own fun. That's also true. They do. But also that's very culturalist of you, because their culture is fighting. Just because our culture is getting a curry and watching Netflix, yeah, their culture is going out there and having a good old fight. And they love that. And it's actually really healthy for them. When we do push-ups, when we go to the gym, we get stronger and bigger. When an orc fights, he gets bigger, stronger, and smarter. He's healthier. Telling an orc not to fight is like telling a gym bro not to hit the gym. It's like telling someone who loves to study not to read a book, right? Bad argument. Torturing is a Chikari culture, and it's very healthy for them. That is a good point. That's well made. Our orcs' representation of Bakunin's creative destruction, very potentially. That is correct. Good morning. Yeah, but they can fight each other. Fighting other races is bad. They must recognize the consequences of their actions. That's fair. I love that. It's like telling a murderer not to murder, right? We don't tell murderers not to murder. We just put them in prison and say, look, here's some other people you can murder. That's generally how we work as a society at the moment. Orcs fighting in their way of having sex, right? How they spread spores. A little bit, I think. Yeah, but they try to impose their culture on other people. That sounds very much like imperialism or colonialism. Also true. Oh, orcs. Oh, my sweet green children. Oh, you beautiful. They do have vehicles, though, called... They also are like petrol heads. They love cars. And, there's not a single Tesla available. You can't get the Rucker Truck Tesla Squig buggy, can you? There's not... I don't think I can put this video on YouTube. This video is already so fucking unhinged. Can't they take the bus? They could do, like, yeah, also, that's another good point as well. Not very environmental of them. There's not a single train. Like, if they built trains, yeah, or buses so that they could reduce their carbon footprint, I'd be more conscious of that. Squigs are a sustainable resource. They do recycle a lot, though. Another good point. Orcs recycle loads. They upcycle. Like, I imagine there's like an orc Etsy store, effectively, where they upcycle a lot. Okay? But more carbon in the atmosphere than fast the orcs will grow. Yeah, don't the cars run on faith? Way more environmental than petrol. That's also true. Orcs, Tyranids, and demons probably all belong in the do terrible evil things but have no choice. Evil but have no choice. What about a tier that's evil but culturally important? Like, maybe we could change the tiers a bit, right? Maybe like evil, but it's their culture. It's kind of like, you know, the lazy employee that you have at work. Is anyone else? Everyone else, evil is subjective. We talked about this at the top of the show, Jog. Appreciate you. Like the sounds like it's complicated. I don't think orcs are it's complicated. I want it to be it's complicated. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I want them to be good, but I think like the argument the cultural argument I went for, unfortunately got destroyed in the chat very quickly, quite correctly, I think, as well. Like I was really grasping there, and I got shot down hard. Drukhari do have the choice to not be evil. They could be Harlequins. You can always become a Harlequin if you're a Drukhari. That's something we talked about. So anyone who remains a Drukhari is choosing to be evil. Including these murder races. Just born that way, but they were made that way, not their fault tier. Yeah, it's like an awkward tier, right? I think they're at least in it's complicated. Orcs are it's complicated. It has to be. And also, kind of Chaos Demons, it's complicated. Like, because they don't have any autonomy. Their acts are evil, but they don't choose itself to be evil. Right? Yeah, basically have two tiers. Sentient evil and unwittingly evil. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Born this way, tier Lamo. Orcs are good. Orcs are complicated. They're just misunderstood. Okay, we're going to stick like this, right? Only the Imperium are evil. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to choice. We'll get to choice in a moment, because choice seems to be something that everyone is quite interested in right now. The choice to be evil is wildly different than Tyranids. So Tyranids' actions seem evil, but it's their biological. Like, no one thinks diseases are evil. Diseases just are what they are. Like, mosquitoes aren't evil, although we are trying to eradicate them. Like the fucking dodo. Get wrecked, dodo, you stupid bird. Right? you evil bird. Right? But mosquitoes, like, are responsible for so much pain and suffering. But, like, it's a biological imperative of theirs to do what they do. And similar for Tyranids. Tyranids don't get a choice. But their acts themselves are evil, like Chaos Demons. But if you're a Tyranid, everything you're doing is good. So I'm going to maybe go for neutral, because they don't fight against what is the inherent evil that is Chaos and Demons. So the true Grimdark thing about 40k is not having a choice. Oh my god, this is such a good question. Like, and is so important into the relevance of how we, like, morally observe story, but also society. Choice is inherent. Like, that's so vital. Like, being given autonomy, but also using that autonomy of choice, like, effectively design, because, like, and we also choose, and then also maybe don't even realize effects. Like, we currently imprison people if they do something bad, even if they didn't choose to do it. And then we also imprison people who chose to do something, and then we consider that to be a more serious crime. So we got manslaughter versus murder, right? Murder you intend to kill, manslaughter you accidentally killed. Both bad things that occurred, of course, but you intended to do the first. So its intent is always the issue. But there is only 5 or 6 Tyranids. They're all one mind or being. That's true. Yeah, how they go, the birth of GSC leaders is pretty evil. That's true. Infesting people to become a gene stealers is evil. That's true. They're just animals looking for food. There is no good or evil about it. That's why I think that they're neutral. They're kind of harsh on the environment, though. Yeah, but they're not harsh on their environment. Like, their environment is good, right? Like, surely that's correct, right? Like, their environment is where they live and survive. Like human beings, fucking get wrecked dodo, rhinos, fish, every animal on the planet. Like, all of them get wrecked. You suck. The rainforest, you suck. Like, based on human actions, they're neutral. If you think destroying of the environment in which you live and survive is evil, and I've got someone to put in some evil categories for you, my friends. They're also wrecking the Imperium as a whole, thus doing the great good. Correct. Kroots are evil then because they're nomad hunter type race, so probably live in tents. Well, no, they can't be evil because they probably live a sustainable life. Is it they need to move on constantly? But don't forget that that's not bad for Tyranids. Tyranids don't care about the fact that they have to move on. I hope your lizard ancestor was eaten by a dodo. Isn't 40k just everyone is evil? Swaggy, let me get you started in a moment. But yes, top line. Like, right, okay. Chaos Space Marines. Let's do Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines. Okay. Chaos Space Marines. They choose to be evil. They choose to be evil. They do evil acts. They are evil. They are the most evil because they choose to be the most evil. Right? They enact evil acts. They choose evil. They represent evil, right? They also choose to be free. They also do choose to be free from the Imperium, which is also a good point. But they don't choose to be free. They choose to be like slaves and also peons of another race. So, well, not another race, another higher power, which is the Chaos Gods, right? They do also kill loads of fascists, it's true. But don't forget, Hitler killed Hitler. Doesn't mean Hitler's a good guy. Okay. Like, what have Alpha Legion done that is evil? They chose evil because they broke from the true evil, aka the Emperor's fascist gang, so they are suffering from PTSD, is a bold take. Again, let's just refer to the picture that kicked this all off. Okay? The Plague Marine. We inherently didn't put an Imperial Fist in front of the kid with the wooden sword because we know that the marketing and the writing tells us that the evil that exists. This might be the greatest video I've ever made, by the way. I don't know, or it's the worst. I don't know what it is. Maybe these kids are war criminals. Oh, shit. What a take. Maybe the kids are war criminals who, like, maybe this is a Plague Marine sent back through time. The ultimate paradoxical question. Maybe this kid grows up to be the Emperor. We don't know that. And so, okay, maybe the kid's a Gene Stealer cults. Hadn't thought about that either. That's really clever. That's why he's wearing the helmet. Oh my God. Right? The kid is wearing the helmet to hide the fact he's got a tentacle in his head. Oh my God. I mean, he did get that helmet from someone. Great shout, chat. Hadn't even thought about that. You don't know, but this might be the Plague Marine being a good guy. Back. Right. Right, okay. So, having established that we think, in fact, that the Plague Marine was actually doing good here because this was an infected child from the Gene Stealer cults, we can move on, which I think is right. And we can move on to Necrons, which honestly, bin. So they represent a culture which turned its whole society into dust. So at this point, the evil acts that they've done are done in many ways. They want dominion over the worlds. They will eradicate other peoples. So that's pretty evil. They're expansionist. They are like conquerors. They represent that. To be fair, though, many of those places that they want to take over were theirs to begin with. They're just really bad at posting signs. Like, they're landlords, which we hate. They're like, yeah, this is actually our planet. But it was their leaders who fucked them. That's true. Necrons are the British Empire. They represent the old guy on your street who wouldn't give your ball back if you went over his fence. I'm just going to put them in evil because everything around them is just pretty evil. They love war. They love murdering people. They make the choice to do so. But, like, I don't know what would happen if they, like, took over everything. They just survive? Like, what is the end goal for Necrons? Like, what do Necrons do if they succeed? Like, they have a society. They have a culture. They have, like, I guess, stuff happening. They just build some machines and sit around again. They would go to sleep again. Like, so they're not the most evil. I'm just working out if they're evil or most evil. Like, they're pretty evil. But, like, they love sleep. If somebody disturbs my sleep, I get that energy. I've got some real Necron energy this morning. It's really problematic. I'm just going to put them in evil for safety. Okay. We're nearly at the Imperium now, so time to get spicy. But before... Oh, we've got Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights are effectively just, like, tanks, so they can just go there. Like, they don't need discussion. Chaos Knights, same thing as Chaos Space Marines, because it's the same culture, right? Society. Ta'u. The Ta'u, which is the official pronunciation. The Ta'u. I don't know why people call them Tau, when it's quite clearly Ta'u. Necrons are in evil. Okay, so Ta'u. So they definitely... So in their older version of their lore, they had a more... let's say, democratic society geared towards the greater good. But since then, they've had a rewrite, and they do have the ethereals who are cultural homogenists. I think that's the correct way of saying it. That's Ta'u. And therefore, what they want to do is and there's the assumption that they brain control lots and lots of people. Which is not good. So, like, that's a negative. So they are unfortunately not good. They don't inherently fight the evil. They fight everyone in their expansionist fears. But, like, the Tau washing, they do. They brain control a lot of people. Yeah. But they provide universal healthcare. They do. They do that. So, like, that's not terrible. But I'm gonna, like, if I'm willing to put that they make the choice. Like, they're still a young society, in relative galactic terms. What is this? What is this? Gangster's Paradise. Get out. Anyway. They're still a young society. The ethereal brainwashing. So they're a society currently under... Like, they're effectively in the Murdoch Empire. So they're Australia in many ways. They have good healthcare. They've got a pretty good society. Everything's pretty chill and vibes. Apart from their media apparatus is controlled by one evil husk, which is the ethereals. So they're the Australia of kind of the Warhammer factions in many ways. Like, in my personal opinion. So Ta'u are good if you voluntarily join them, but if you aren't actually given you a choice, it'll blow you away if you refuse to join their empire. That's also a true angle. So, like, I'm willing to say, I'm willing to say that Ta'u are complicated. Ta'u are complicated. If everyone else is. They're Australia, Rob says, ignoring the blatant racist East Asian undertones. Hey, hey, hey! I understand what you. I understand. Ta'u, a big British school curriculum about the Empire energy. That is true. That is true. Yeah, that's fine though. I'm English, so it's fine. It's actually encouraged in many ways. So again, it's complicated. Okay, who's left? Okay, before we get onto the Imperium, which is just a lot of them, we're going to go for the Adeptus Mechanicus. By the metrics, by the way, of our current societies, as in good old Blighty, but also generally the Western societies, Ta'u are like, I mean, the Ethereals, if they do anything, enact like the CIA. Like they just do that, and everything the British did, you know, in Africa and Asia through the 1800s and 1900s, and no one thinks that those are problematic, right? Like those are fine. All of those acts are fine. So no one thinks that those countries are evil. Therefore, Ta'u are complicated, right? Right. Okay. So Admech are the manufactorum of the the Adeptus Mechanicus. I should be very clear. Mechanicus is different. The Adeptus Mechanicus are the manufactory of in today's modern world. They're the Amazon plus China. They build a lot of stuff and they ship a lot of stuff. Right? They're the drop shippers of modern times. They, quite interestingly, my personal opinion, are not that evil because they rejected evil. So if you don't know, during the Horus Heresy, there was a sect of the Mechanicum, which it was at the time, the Mechanicum, who chose to embrace evil, and then they got kicked out in a civil war, and then the Adeptus Mechanicus since then has been very anti-evil, right? They are ecological terrorists, that's true, but based on our current society, that's super okay. Fuck dodos, the rainforest, rivers, oceans, the sky, forests, just all of it. So that's fine. Ecological terrorism doesn't exist, as in today's modern metrics, just FYI. Yeah, hashtag fuck dodos. I like that from this stream we got that we hate dodos and they deserved it, right? They're transhumanist. I said the T word, so now the YouTube comments are going to be hot fire. But so also are Space Marines. Space Marines are transhuman. Custodians are transhuman. Even some of the Astra Militarum are transhuman. So prepare to lose your mind. That Warhammer 40,000 is a trans allegory. I don't know how you don't understand that. Like, there's absolutely no way to be anti-trans and be a fan of Space Marines. You literally are describing transhumanism. You terrible, 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 terrible nerds. So please understand that. Then you got like Space Marine surgery is trans-affirming care, correct? Very much like hair transplants. Is the same thing. That's effectively like identifying as a gender, being bald, having more hair is male. Mechanicum are non-binary. Ironically, there are plenty of pronouns in the Mechanicum. Correct. They had Z pronouns in one Mechanicum book. Okay, so. But let's kind of get on point. What do they try and do as a society? As a society, they're historians. They're historians and also creators. They're trying to reclaim lost technology, reinvent, although not actually reinvent. Unfortunately, they're also a religion, so time to bump them up a level. They choose that religion as well. Like in the face, I would say in the face of everything, they have faith in a higher power, but unfortunately for us, in Warhammer 40,000, that higher power exists. The Void Dragon lives on Mars, and if you don't know what that is, it's a Tau, not Tau, sorry, it's a Necron Catan shard, which is literally a shard of the old gods. So unfortunately for us, like they believe in, they have a faith in technology that is founded on actual conversation with real gods, right? They put candles on computers, they rub oil on computers. Not weird. I think all of us have flipped a USB stick around 3 times and prayed to the sky. I think that's very normal human behavior. That's kind of how I see the Mechanicus in many ways. Ultimately, they do a lot of good. They produce a lot of materials, although it is materials for war. They do create a lot of like weapons of mass destruction. So in many ways, they're not like Iraq, as none of them were, as no WMDs were ever found there. But they are very much like America and like Sweden and stuff. So his tier list just ends up with every faction as a shade of evil. Let's be fair. Excuse me, Tyranids and Harlequins aren't in there. So they create lots of weapons of mass destruction. But then, unfortunately, it's a seller's market. Like in capitalism, like we're super cool with that. If you've got something you want to buy, like if people want to buy enough of it, then we will sell it. So, yeah, interesting. I'm not really sure where Mechanicum fit. I'm actually, like, I'm not sure. This is actually one that confuses me. Like, AdMech actively suppresses creative or inventive thoughts. Invention is literally heresy. They hoard old technology, turn it into weapons, and turn anyone who wants to make tech into better servitor. Good point. They make cherubs. They do intentionally take children and turn them into robots. Okay. All right. Okay, fine. All right. You sold me. That was an easy pick. Although they're not allowed to do AI. We don't know. Hold on. I'm going to put something out there. A lot of people right now are really worried about ChatGPT. Maybe it's going to replace their jobs. Maybe there's going to be very few like mid-level marketing manager jobs sometime soon. We have no idea like what ChatGPT is going to do. Maybe 20, 30 years down the line, someone's going to suggest instead of the AI taking over our lives, we take a couple of kids, because at that point, if a load of the pro-life people have their way, there'll be loads of abandoned children on the streets. Then maybe we'll have an excess bunch of kids on the street problem, and we'll have a we need something to stop AI problem, and then you have a solution. Okay? And I'm not saying that I agree with that solution or that's where it should go, but I'm just pointing out that these guys have solved the problem, right? Didn't they lobotomize a bunch of Cadian refugees? That's not good. Depends on what those Cadian refugees had done. Were they in the Gene Stealer cult? Are you saying ChatGPT could eliminate middle management? Yes. Listen, you got to crack out a few eggs to get Peter Pan. Don't bring the Cadians into this. No, I said Cadians, not Canadians. Oh, I'm really confused now by the AdMech. The AdMech have got me in a world of hurt. I'm confused emotionally. I don't even think they killed dodos. At least I'd be like, it makes sense. Okay, at least it makes sense. Like, if they killed a bunch of dodos, I'd be like, do you know what? I understand. AdMech are bad. I'm going to put them in evil. But they might have the solution to ChatGPT, and that's important for us all to know. Okay. Right. So, here we are. We're going to start in the middle. Oh, I guess we put Thousand Suns in. Thousand Suns just want to do magic and they're made of dust? Are they any different to... They don't want to create life. They just want to do magic. Ooh, I'm not sure about Thousand Suns. I was about to just yeet them up with Chaos Space Marines. They're probably just going up with Chaos Space Marines. Right? But I don't know. I don't know if they have any motivations other than they want to be really good wizards. Like... They're not made of dust anymore. What? That cannot be correct. Thousand Suns are an insult faction. Vikings won't be evil if they didn't get bullied for being science nerds. Thousand Sons, sorry, wouldn't be evil if they didn't get bullied for being science nerds, right? Yeah. Thousand Sons of just Harry Potter fanboys. They're evil, of course. They know I think they're just evil. They made the choice. They chose to be evil. They wanted to do magic. Like, someone was like, look, you can't put your hand in the magic dust and do the magic fucking special fire powers. Like, you're not allowed it. And they were like, fuck you. I'm going to go to evil and do all the special sauce and just, like, absolutely go rampant magical power, right? Thousands, like, yeah. Like, they're up there. They're up there, definitely. Okay, they're up there. That's not a problem. Okay, hold on. We haven't got World Eaters in there, but World Eaters unfortunately go straight to the top as well. Although they are tortured barbarians. Like, I think Angron's tale is sad, in many ways. Although Angron written from the perspective of like a 14-year-old boy. Like, he's like, I've got pain. You're like, okay, overcome it. He's like, no, murder instead. Okay. All right, Angron, calm down. Angron is definitely not a goodie, but he definitely has some trauma, and he could do some therapy. A bunch of raccoons in your house eating and pooping and everything. How would you deal with it? Talking about Necrons. I agree. Necrons are like defending their homestead. Stand your ground rules, obviously, on Necrons. That's where they're at. But I think now that they're awake, their intent is to take over everything and destroy everyone. So while I agree with you, they woke up and they discovered there were loads of raccoons in their backyard. They then heard that the raccoons had a home on another planet, and they decided that they were going to burn that planet to the ground, which is not very... Similarly, the first time someone saw, like, again, dodos, someone saw a dodo back on the ships in the day, they were like, I'm going to fucking murder that and eat that. And then someone was like, how many of these can we get? And then we got all of them. Get wrecked, dodo, you dumb bitch. Like, we wrecked that dodo and the dodo family, the dodo kids, the dodo homestead. So Necrons are just humans against dodos. Like, but humans are dodos in this situation. I know I've said dodos a lot there, right? Angron is bad now for sure, but isn't really his fault he ended up that way. I'd be grumpy as well when a bunch of weirdos wrecked my place. That's true. Weren't they stuck on that island with the dodos? They could leave that island. They were allowed to leave the island. Back to it. Okay, Thousand Sons are being reanalyzed again. I'm not 100% certain about Thousand Sons at the minute. Like, we may keep throwing your opinions into the Thousand Sons chat. I do want to know. All right. We've tried to avoid it for as long as possible. Okay. So I'm gonna just hit you up with Space Marines. Okay. I want you to hit me up, chat. Space Marines. Okay. This is the one. And again, this is part of this conversation. If you replace this Death Guard in this picture, what if it was an Ultramarine? What if it was an Imperial Fist? Okay. You got the difference between Homelander, okay, and Homelander being sold as a kid's toy, and Homelander as he's represented on the TV show, versus this Space Wolf toy sold by Joy Toy, and also, although it's a great, cool toy, like, is there a one-for-one comparison? Homelander and Space Marines? It's kind of what we're here to discuss, right? So what do? Space Marines are are child soldiers, genetically and mentally changed by a higher power, an indoctrinated slave system of a fascist state, designed to protect that fascist state, which does sound good, but only to protect that fascist state and not to create good. Their job is not to make better worlds and universes, but to subjugate and protect enough places that they can create a more powerful war machine to carry on their expansion, which they started in Warhammer 30,000. I think that's a fair, they are, Space Wolves are escalated furries, correct. Okay, Space Wolves have their own tier for being evil and cringe. I thought Homelander was based on Marnius Calgar. Like, now there's actually a lot of similarities, right? I mean, Space Marines are blue, Superman's blue. Like, there's a lot on that, right? Their job is to kill anything not human and falling in line. Correct. So they're definitely evil. Okay. Now, it's fair to say that Chaos Space Marines get about as much choice as Space Marines themselves. Now, ultimately, I guess it's about if you replace the Death Guard with an Ultramarine, the kids don't get killed. Absolutely not true, because we've already established that this kid is part of the Gene Stealer cult. So we've already established that, right? We've already established that. So now in our canon, they're murdered every time, even if it wasn't questionable. They represent humanity, okay? And humanity are what do humanity want? They want to, and let's base that on what humanity currently wants. They want to consume. They want to destroy the environment. They want to eat literally fucking anything they see. Squids, donkeys, dodos, like other people probably in many ways. Like if a human can eat it or see it, it'll probably try. So they're very much like tyrannids. Eco-terrorists, not that matters. So they represent humanity. So you gotta ask yourself, like in the 40k universe, if they say all humanity wants is to survive, I'd say all humanity wants to do is survive. But I guess the real question is the defenders. I mean, all that the Chaos Demons want is for the Chaos Gods to survive. You wouldn't. That's not a fair one. Even if the Death Guard leaves them alive, the Marines come and kill the kids later because they've seen too much. It's probably true. Why aren't the Tau in the bin? Chaos kill for pleasure. Space Marines just kill. They do, but they still kill, and they choose to. So this is the other bit as well. In the thrall of the dark gods, when your soul is damned and under pain of punishment and death, the Chaos Space Marines have, I think, maybe less choice than the Space Marines. But Space Marines themselves have slightly more choice. They have more autonomy. And we talked about choice earlier. Choice more than likely means that if you choose evil acts, then it's more evil than if you just enact evil acts because it's your nature and culture. Humanity and Chaos are linked. They fight each other to survive. You can't have one without the other. In this setting, particularly, yeah. I like the take from Hannah Bolter in the Garden of Ghosts episode where the Space Marine killed random elder children. What did they say? Someone's going to kill you, but you kill it first. Is that a choice? It's a great point. It's a great point. It might be just the idea that they're just defending themselves. But they don't defend something that's, and this is important, they don't defend something and then try to make that thing that they defend better. There's not a Space Marine who lands on a planet and is like, right, let's look at the social programs you've got going on here, right? Okay, how can we make it so you all aren't having the worst time? Okay, don't forget they have serfs, so they on their starships cleaning their clothes, doing all their other bits, right? Space Marines are lawful evil, Chaos Marines are chaotic evil, but still evil. Hearing some unironic Space Marine defended here, which is big yikes. Chaos Space Marines fight against a fascist regime. Isn't that good? We talked about this already. It is good, but unfortunately they themselves, I think, are fascist regime. So, like, I think they have to go here, Space Marines. They have to go into most evil. Because they have the choice. But, and most importantly, there's all the things about what they defend, but ultimately the thing that they defend is itself evil, humanity being so. And they do not try to make that society and or humanity better. There's no noble, bright Space Marine education program. You don't have Space Marines taking some time off the front line to educate the local populace on social, medical, or scientific issues. Instead, you have them bowing their head, bolted to their face, and praying to a god who themselves did not want to be called God, right? So I think that's fair. Drukhari are deaf as evil as the rest of the top tier. Drukhari are... Space Marines are not doomed in the same way Drukhari are. Space Marines, if they die, their soul does not go to hell. Drukhari souls are destined for hell. They're fighting for their eternal life. Space Marines are at best fighting for their mortal life. Like, isn't that what Thousand Sons do? They have respect for the basic human after Prospero. I think, again, we've got a question mark around Thousand Sons, right? Drukhari have other options. Drukhari do have other options. That's also true. Although we did talk about their class structure being set up in a way that they can't ostracize themselves from that choice. And that's hard to do. But similarly, that's also true for Space Marines. Let's just throw that same thing at the same point. Space Marines can't remove themselves from that class structure because it's such an, like, at this point, monolithic beast. So they have no choice. It's a great argument. They have no choice. They have no choice. Do they have no choice? Is like life something where everything around us just dictates that we have no choice and therefore life is meaningless? Dear God, where are we at? Like, do we get to choose? Do we not get to choose? How do we get to feel? Like, it's like the guy from Necromunda, right? The Ashwood Stranger. He was formerly an enforcer, and then he just went rogue. He just went out into the wild. It was like, I'll just be my own person. Everyone is a shit. Yeah, it's not about what life. Like Drukhari at the top. It's not happening. Okay, I don't follow the Imperium. They become renegade Chaos Marines, and they would be in the most evil anyway. So, is there a point where you don't follow? You're a Space Marine, but you don't follow the Imperium, yet you don't embrace chaos? Like, there's a third choice. Is there a third choice for Space Marines? Because if there isn't, then they're torn between what we consider to be most evil and evil itself. There are non-evil renegades. Are they? Non-evil renegades. There are canonical renegade non-chaos marines. Unbelievably cool. Unbelievably cool. Who are they? Because that is my new Space Marine faction. They're in the middle of a shit sandwich. Space Marines are in a tough place, especially as they're child soldiers who've been genetically engineered. Space Marines are in a tough place. Their Primarchs, on the other hand, know more, and the Emperor themselves know more. Yes, those burning Space Marine Legion, they run around the Imperium doing pirate shit. Bro, no one ever told me I could play pirate Space Marines. I'm in, right? I would play that faction instantly if they came out. That's the faction I'm going to play. No one told me I could play pirate Space Marines. I am now absolutely... Also, Chaos are only considered evil because we have unreliable narration in Space Marines being good guys. Chaos are doing what their gods tell them. That's true, Goblin Toes. Space Marines are following dumb doctrines and not questioning shit. That's also true. Space Marines aren't tough. They're just shit playing ham sandwich. Yeah, there's not a lot of support for renegades. It's okay. We can make stuff up. I find it interesting that people think that the concept of chaos is better than evil, as chaos is defined as the ultimate evil in 40k. It's defined as the ultimate evil by the authors themselves, but surely it's on us, the reader, to determine whether or not we feel that that's true. And again, not to dismiss the author or the authorial intent, because that's important. But Chaos Space Marines themselves, while representing inherent evil, choose to be inherent evil versus Chaos Demons, who are representative of evil but have no choice. Chaos Space Marines themselves represent an evil system, like described as such by the author as well, a trudging, inhumane society. Like, do you want to live 1,000 years? Like in that society? Do you not want that society to get better? Some of it's imperial perspective though, yeah. Although not a great choice, I'd rather live in a hive than on a demon planet getting fucked by Satan and all his mates. Agreed. But there's absolutely nothing stopping the Space Marines from building a spa world. Like, I understand that it's a constant war zone, ripped apart and asunder, but even in the midst of war zones, you get like a little break, like a ham and cheese sandwich toasty stand, like there's at least, like, they understand, like, when you have frontline troops, you would bring those frontline troops back from the front lines because you recognize that they needed a break. Like, where's the spa world, right? There are spa worlds for the super wealthy. Exactly. So Space Marines are in there. These other ones are all Space Marines, so they all sit in the same boat. Sorry, Blood Angels, Ultramarines, Death Watch. Death Watch is xenophobic, so they definitely can go into most evil. But we don't need to bother putting Space Marines, the sub-factions in, because it's all the same, right? The story beyond there is all the same. The Sisters of Battle, Grey Knights, we'll talk about those in a minute. Custodes is interesting. Custodes more so than anyone else. Salamanders are still Space Marines. Like, I like the humanistic nature of Space Marines, of the Salamanders, but they're still Space Marines, bro. It's the representation of the Imperium is the problem with Space Marines, not Space Marines themselves. Salamanders are scalies, though. That's true. Grey Knights are the only Marines that come closer to being okay. They discard xenophobia because they know chaos is a real problem. Yes, they actually are geared towards. I would say, like, we'll deal with Custodes in a minute, but if we're going to talk about just Grey Knights are built just to destroy evil, and they're less bothered about propagating the society for which they represent. And instead, Grey Knights are designed to fight against chaos, the ultimate evil, which Chaos Space Marines, if evil went away, okay, this is a good point to make. If chaos was defeated, okay, chaos was utterly defeated and you no longer needed chaos, right, then Space Marines would still destroy orcs, Eldar. They would destroy all of the other races. So they are the most evil. Like, they're in the most evil category. They're not the most evil. They're in the most evil category, right? Because if chaos was completely destroyed, then Space Marines and the Imperium would still destroy all Tyranids and their life. They would murder every dodo they could fucking find, right? They would still destroy all the Tau. So I think that's a good argument. That's a good argument, actually. I haven't really thought about that until today. I haven't thought about that until today. Because they're always like, oh, you actually need Space Marines because there's a bigger evil. But if they defeated the bigger evil, they would kill all the other things as well. Right? That's what they would do. Right? They murder the people they save, yeah. The mind wipe and purge witnesses of demonic incursion, that isn't as evil as wanton genocide for no reason. We're talking about Grey Knights. Interesting. I think it's fair to say that Grey Knights are Puritans on a holy cause. And that's only ever caused the most evil acts. We don't even, like... when everything is killed, they would chill. But when everything is killed, they would chill? Would they? Are you telling me that the fascist police state that is the Imperium, if the Space Marines were to ultimately defeat all of the things, if there was only the humans and Space Marines left, that's it. Do we think we would have a utopian world at that point where human beings chill and frolic in the agri worlds? Like, what do you think that society ultimately looks like? Like, you have the Space Marines continue to be the cops who maintain the order inside that society, right? They blow up planets that have demons on them, right? Like, once they run out of Xenos, it'll be the Psychers, then anyone Blue Eyes or something. Exactly. First, like right now, you're allowed aberrants, right? You're allowed like squats. You're allowed like other little bit. Like they're like okay, I don't mind you right now. Oh, what are the big guys with the slab shields? The Bullgrins. They're like, okay, right now, Bullgrins, you're fine. But if they destroy all chaos, kill all the orcs, defeat all the Tyranids, the Bullgrins are next. Okay? Right. They, like, yeah. So they're evil. and they're as evil as Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines want to destroy everyone. Space Marines want to destroy everyone as well, like, because that's the ideology. Like, Grey Knights can go in there as well for the same reason. And then all the other Space Marines can go in there as well. There's only 2 other factions that I think are worth talking about: Astra Militarum and Adeptus Sororitas. So talk about the Astra Militarum, the press-ganged soldiers of the Imperium, the human beings. So while they represent the Imperium, which is a problem, like, ultimately they're soldiers, and they're soldiers in a subjugated class. Many of them represent, like, just the humans. I would say that they're not evil, because soldiers themselves aren't evil. Like, soldiers themselves aren't evil, because that's just not how it works, right? But while they have choices, and they represent everything that the Marines represent, but when you get to that end state, which we talked about, where it's just the Astra Militarum and Space Marines left, it's a war to the death, I think. They get shot by their own leaders if they don't fight. Yeah, they need a union really badly. But I'm putting Astra Militarum, it's complicated. I think that's fair to say. They go where they're pointed. No more than a knife is evil. No, that's not true. That's not true. Rules of engagement exist for a reason. War crimes exist in our modern society for a reason. The Hague exists for a reason. Like, we're not meant to use phosphorus bombs for a reason. You know, like, there's a bunch of stuff that we talk about, like, humane engagement. Otherwise, we get into von Clausewitz-style conversations about limited and total war, which is an important point when you are talking about war. Like, is war designed to erase populations and populace? That's an important point. Grey Knights, like, I would say that Astra Militarum ultimately represent the Imperium, and the Imperium itself is evil. It's a problem, right? Guard are bad because of the context of their existence. They're not designed to be evil. That's true. But they represent evil, right? They represent the expansionist and also totalitarian nature of the Empire, right? They're the most justifiable bin tier because they're people and people are trash. Custodians are neutral. They do just what Baghdadi tells them to do. Do they represent... or the citizens of the Imperium? Do they represent the Imperium? Well, it's kind of interesting, right? Because Chaos Space Marines, like, represent the. I suppose these are. I suppose if we're using the lens of these are all soldiers, because that's true, then you get into a very complicated conversation of, as does soldiery following orders count for the evil that the orders that they represent? But in modern armies, you can refuse to follow out what they consider to be an illegal or unlawful order. That's something that it happens. And in fact, I'm almost certain there's a story, and this might be something I'm making up, where someone refused to fire a nuclear weapon from a submarine, not recently, but a while ago, maybe during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that effectively stopped us from ever going to World War. So, like, soldiers have autonomy. But then they do get shot by the commissar, which is rough. That was a Russian. Thank you, Ben Jambles. There we go. That is something. I'm pretty certain that was right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't making it up. So a single human being saved. Can't say I expected von Clausewitz to be quoted in a Warhammer stream. Welcome to the Honest Wargamer. Yeah, we fucking hate dodos, but we've read a book or two. Right? Oh, God. Right. In Gort's Ghost, they show that the regiment fight for survival first and then the Imperium second. That's fair. I think we're still putting them in evil, though, because of who they... Ultimately, the machine itself represents. The individual soldier. I mean, Chaos Space Marines are fighting for survival, bro. I think the idea of fighting for survival doesn't get much... I mean, I've confirmed a few times we either hate birds or they aren't real. That's true. Chaos Space Marines accept their place as post-humans and given the Imperium has to offer. Chaos seems like a better deal. Interesting take, right? Like, it's an interesting take. okay, we're putting Ashmatarum and evil because they ultimately represent the Imperium. And as we talked about, the Imperium's end state is one that is evil. I don't see them defeating everything, high-fiving each other, patting each other on the ass, and then instituting some strong societal reforms and getting a couple of unions up and going. I don't see that happening. Okay. And then we've got the Adeptus Sororitas. I don't think there's much to say about that. Same thing. Religious zealots representing the Imperium. They have the choice not to. They do. Evil zealots with the choice. There you go. Like in evil. So that's the tier, gang. How's everyone feel about that? How's everyone feel about the tier? Right. How is the tier list going? Has Rob upset anyone since the Rogue One comment? No. It's actually been a very adult conversation, and this thankfully will not cause any comments. If we put this in a YouTube video, won't remotely I'll just get a lot of comments like fair, pretty chill, nice one, no problems. Oh, we didn't do Custodes. I apologize. Let's do Custodes, right? Let's do Custodes. Custodes genetically engineered from the womb. Custodes, we need to sort that out. Genetically engineered from the womb. I don't know if they have the illusion of choice. That's the bit that kind of confuses me. Because they're literally from before birth. They're fucked around with. They represent the Imperium. A good example would be about the end state of the Imperium is the reunification wars. We get the reunification wars, and then we're like, right, okay, thank you for all of your help and service, Thunder Warriors, but get fucking wrecked. You and the Dodos, done. So they got and the Custodes carried that out. Custodes carried out the destruction and death of their fellow soldiery. They didn't put them in a retirement home. They didn't put them on a retirement planet. They didn't do anything. The Thunder Dodos, correct. That's what they're called now. The Thunder Warriors are now the Thunder Dodos, right? So it depends on what Valdor is up to. Evil, I imagine. By reunification, we mean one human faction removing all opposition. Also, a good point. The reunification wars is really the consolidation wars. Is what it should be renamed to. It's a good shout. Custodians are the worst of the Marines. They are. This has been a very Dodo heavy stream. It's true. We haven't done the Votan. Oh yeah, we haven't done Votan either, and I think that's fair. So Votan are isolationists. They work for an AI. I unfortunately haven't read the Votan background. Has anyone bought the Votan Codex, and is it good? Because the background, I stopped reading the Votan. Sorry, I stopped reading the background lore that came out of the codexes during the Psychic Awakening, because I read some of the worst narrative I've ever read. I was like, I'll just buy an actual fucking book rather than this trash. So, aren't they all brainwashed clones? Interesting. Votan are corpo rats. I didn't know that. Votan are mega capitalist, mega evil. Okay. All right. Votan can just go most evil because I haven't read it. And what I don't know scares me and therefore is evil. Classic human behavior. I actually knew that already, Blank Wizard. # friends in goblin places. Okay, so that's the list. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. If you're watching this back as a YouTube video, or if you listen to this as a podcast, please do leave comments, like and subscribe. We have a Patreon if you'd like to support the show. If I didn't have Patreon, so everyone on Patreon is responsible for this video being created, for helping me discuss this, what would normally be a very kind of rocky ground. We got to have a very nice and safe, comfortable conversation. Which has been it's just been very nice. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. Please do leave your comments. I'd love to read them. And we'll revisit the comments on another stream. So thank you very much. See you soon.